This is my turkey tail fan from Iowa from a couple of years back. Had a beautiful hunt, and two toms raced down this beautiful meadow, and one of them met my shot pattern, and this is the tail from that turkey. A lot of folks may not want to or don't want to pay for a full turkey mount, so I'm going to take us through a couple of different ways that we can mount turkey tail fans today. Okay, to do a good taxidermy mount, you need your tweezers. That helps pull fat off the quills. You've got a scalpel, which helps get the meat off and the fat off. You've got a defatting tool, and that also helps get fat and some other things off of your quills. A good strong scissors, got an extra defatting tool, and then I've got another scalpel that'll get some of the really hard meat off. Then you also want to make sure you have a good can of Bondo. That's going to be the finishing touch. There's the tail fan right there, and then a towel to lay your fan down onto when you're getting ready to Bondo. And these are the basic tools that you need to get started on a good taxidermy mount. Alright, so get some stuff out of the way and get a scalpel on. We'll get started. First thing you want to do is you want to get all this meat off, every single bit of that meat that you possibly can. Just cut right off the quills. Be careful not to cut into the quills, although they are pretty tough. And we'll go get a paper towel here in a few minutes and just get started, but we'll get at least this meat going. Some people like to wear gloves. Personally, I don't care one way or the other. So after you get all of the meat pulled off of it, you'll start seeing it's kind of loosening up a little bit. Now I've got a lot of fat here, and so what we want to do now is get this bone out. This is this bone that's right in the middle here. You have to be really careful with it, so you want to kind of cut on either side of it here, and you'll feel the back part of that bone, and you'll eventually pull it out, and we'll show you how that works. You have to be real careful because you don't want to pull all the skin off. You don't want to have just a pile of feathers when you're all done. You want to have a nice, easily pullable fan. But the problem is that when you've got the bone in there like that, you won't be able to get that fan out all the way. That bone prevents you from being able to get a good spread on that. So you want to get that bone out of there. And you'll feel on the back here, you'll feel this little area of the bone. You'll feel right back here, and this is what you want to kind of get your hands on to start getting out. You can see it right there is that little nub there. And so you'll go on either side of that nub and start cutting it out kind of in a V form. See, here's that V right here. So you want to start cutting right here. Cut on the other side of the V. That bone starts coming right out. You want to be careful not to cut all that skin, because if you do that, then you're going to end up with two tail pieces, and you don't want to do that. That should just be able to peel right off of there. And that's it. That's done. Okay, now that we have the bone out, you can see here it'll spread out real easy. And that's really nice how that works. And you can see the spread. We're starting to get a fan. Okay, one of the things I forgot to talk about was getting some borax. You want to use borax when we start defatting this. So we'll get to that here in a second. Also bring some tin foil with you so that way when you start to do the bondo, you can get your tin foil underneath it so it won't stick to anything on your towel. And there's a reason that we use a towel, and I'll explain that here shortly. Now, one of the other things a lot of taxidermists don't do, depends, but you notice there's a separation between the feathers, these feathers here, and these feathers here. There's two sets of feathers, and if you notice, there's the separation is right here between this feather here and this feather here. And so you want to get that meat out of the middle, and basically you just cut underneath it, and then scoop that little piece of meat out, and that's what I'm going to do right now. You don't have to worry about cutting through those quills. They're pretty tough. You just have to be careful with it, obviously. But those quills are very, very tough underneath. And you'll know if you're cutting into quills because you won't really be able to have too much resistance. And so this is what you want out of there. There we go. That's all that fat and meat. That's the stuff that gets rancid and ruins your mount over time. So the more of this you get out, the better off you are. Next, you want to start cutting some of this because what you're going to do, you want to have a very strong scissors. You're going to start cutting this fat. And don't cut too close because, again, you don't want to cut your feathers off. But this is good because you want to get as much of the fat as you possibly can cut out of this. And you'll see how I do that. You'll go from each quill to each quill. So you want to lean those scissors up against each quill on either side of it, and you want to see a nice big piece of fat fall off on an in between of that. As you start pulling it off, you can kind of see how that looks. That's just a big piece of fat right there, and that's what you want. Okay, now we're going to start stripping. Okay, to strip, we're going to grab the quill with these tweezers, and you're going to hang on to each quill, so get ready for a little bit of work, and you want to actually strip the fat right off and the tissue right off of the quill. And it is some work, but you see how it pulls off? And then once you pull it off, you'll have a bare quill, and that's what you want. You want to have a bare quill completely all the way through. And we're going to go ahead and do each one of these quills the same way. Grab those tweezers, get right up on there, and then yank that off. You're going to squeeze pretty hard, so you know, you're going to squeeze right past the quill itself, and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to break this quill, but you won't. And if you do, you're going to Bondo it anyway. You want to get every bit of that fat off of there. And if you need some help with your scissors, certainly all means do it. Okay, so I've got these quills done. I'm going to go ahead and do some Bondo defattening just to make sure we got them all good. So you throw some Bondo on, then you grab your defatten tool and you just get in there, and this gets all that fat and stuff loosened so that we can continue to pull stuff off as we need to. Don't be shy about this one either. Don't be shy about putting some Bondo on, because that helps dry things out. Or not Bondo, borax. Using this borax to help get this stuff off of there. And using that defattening tool, and you're putting some muscle into it. Again, don't be afraid of it. You want to get these ones on the top as well, because those are the ones that can ruin your work. But you don't want to get too far up those, because again, you're using some skin to keep everything together. You can get these tools on any taxidermy website. I got mine from mannequins.com. And that Bondo, or the, I don't know why I keep wanting to call this Bondo. And that borax gets in there and dries stuff out as well. A lot of times people will just set these things out to dry as with the borax itself, and that's perfectly fine. Again, we're looking at something that is taxidermy quality here today. And as that goes, you can see I've just kind of been putting the borax up around there and just really getting in there with this defattening tool. And then we'll continue with the tweezers to pull off the rest of the fat. This also helps really get some of this oil and grease from the fat off of there, which is great. If you've done everything right, you're going to have bare quills. All these up top are relatively bare, but they'll do very well underneath the Bondo. If you look at the back here, I've got a couple of little areas here that I want to go ahead and trim out some more fat, but there's pretty much nothing else I need to really do on this fan. And we'll get started on the actual setting of it here shortly. It should be very loose in your hands. You can see how absolutely loose it is, but we'll be able to set everything out the way we want to once we get our towel up, and then we'll discuss how to properly lay the feathers as well. And when you're done, you should have a nice big layer of fat and meat and gristle and everything else that you don't want to give to your dogs. You just want to throw it away. So that's what we're going to do here, and get rid of it. Go ahead and put my stuff up, get rid of the scalpel blade, and just throw that in the trash. Alright, now here comes the fun part. We're going to go ahead and start arranging I like to take a towel. Jan taught me this because it allows the feathers to kind of have a place to live. Otherwise, they can slide around and be slick. So basically, just get your towel out, and as we go, we'll figure it out. Now on a turkey, the back feathers start off, you'll see how they stack this way. The front feathers stack the opposite way. So you'll have the small feathers on top. So how you want to do this is the tail fan typically has 18 feathers. So we're going to go ahead and spread this out and get started on it. All right, as you see, as I'm kind of pulling these feathers out, the upper feathers also tend to fall into place. And again, your feathers are going to start bottom on the top feathers. You're going to bottom, stack, 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 stack. And then on this one, you'll start seeing how this is sort of patterning out here. They're going to stack the opposite direction. So I'm going to keep a good close eye on them and just mess around with them all you need to, because once you Bondo them, you can always take Bondo off and strip it and redo it. Nothing's carved in stone. That's the nice thing about this. And as you can see, a couple of these got out of line, and we're putting them back in line as we speak. This is going to be a beautiful mount. Very excited about this. That's pretty much the way I like it. We're going to start mixing some Bondo here in a minute. I'm going to go over a couple of little minor details, and then we'll get Bondo started. I'm really happy with this set and the way these are sitting here. So I'm going to go ahead and put some Bondo out. Typically I like to do the bottom part first, and then add a little bit more to get these upper feathers to sit in place. So that's how I'm going to go ahead and approach things today. Doesn't need a lot. To start with. Typically, if I was going to add a wire to this, I would just add it right to this batch so that I could carry it with me if I wanted to use it as a spare tail fan, or if I wanted to use it just with my DSD, just so I could grab it off and carry it with me. So I'm going to start with the bottom part of the Bondo, and that's it. Got the foil down. Now I'll go ahead and add the top part. I'm going to have to stand here against the wind because I really don't want these small feathers to blow around. Alright, we're going to let that dry for a while. Okay, we have us a tail fan, so I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and do the other side, the Bondo. Oh, this came out great. Very happy with the way this came out. This will be easy to fix here because we can tuck. This is what I love about the using the towel. So now I can tuck the towel up so I can get my feathers the way I want them to be as far as the layout's concerned. Okay, that should do it. Done. And here you have it, a completed turkey tail fan ready to be hung up. This is beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful fan. All right, so if you're patient and you got the tools, go ahead and get started on it. We'll see you next year.